Welcome back to Sonic Generations, and I have one question to ask. What's a top secret disc? I love how you don't even laugh when I act like a prick now, you just sort of facepalm.
It's the only appropriate reaction.
Yeah, one little thing that I find fascinating about Charmy is that from Shadow, like during the 4Kids era of voicing Sonic, he was voiced by the same woman who voiced Max from Pokemon, and their voices are so similar, like the delivery. It's like, it's really off-putting at times just because of, like, is that Max? Like, expecting him to pull out his Pokénav or some shit at some point.
That's when Ash comes out of nowhere and just throws a Pokeball at his head.
Yeah. That's an irritating jump to make just because the key's on the edge, by the way. But now we're showing off one of the rare classic era challenges in this playthrough.
I thought these were forbidden.
Well, no, I've shown off 2. Out of, what is this, 3, 6, 9. Out of the 9 I'm showing off, 2 of them are classic, so there's a bit more balance than I would have gone if I wasn't trying to show stuff off. But this one's the one for the Fire Shield from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And yeah, they put it in the Sonic 06 level for some reason, but still. But yeah, the Fire Shield, it's, if you haven't played 3K, it's basically a sort of enhanced jump dash that gives you as well as protection from fire. So like, you just press A again and you just dash forward, and if you're lucky you won't go flying into the abyss.
So it's homing attack without homing?
Pretty much, yeah. Look how careful I'm having to be though, just because of where the spikes are placed. But yeah, admittedly this particular mission, it's not that big of a deal with it, like, because there's walls everywhere, there's things that you can just bump into rather than flying off. It's a few sections in Sonic 3 and Knuckles where a misplaced jump with the Fire Shield, like, there's not really too much in terms of bottomless pits and the sort of levels it's in, but there are things where you could put yourself in harm's way.
What would you say about Sonic 3 and Knuckles in general?
Too drawn out, not as good as the other games. Like, that's not to say it's bad, it's just, I think it outstays its welcome.
Alright, yeah. You're not keen on the classic series anyway, are you? That
Not-
so much, you prefer modern?
Yeah, not on the whole. Like, I would rather just have like more in the moment boosting, you know, gotta go fast
Yeah,
sort
like
of
the
stuff.
quicker stuff instead of platforming
Yeah. Now
stuff. Yeah.
I have to show this mission off. This is the most fucking stupid mission in the whole game. Rooftop rail grind. Have you got a mental image of what this might be? We're gonna go through Rooftop Run again entirely on the board.
Oh, yeah.
Entirely on the board.
That's not rail grinding.
There will be some rail grinding, but how do you board uphill like this?
Yeah. I was like, what happens if you do stop and stuff?
If you do stop, you just sort of stop. It's not quite as bad as like White Acropolis, that boarding section, but it's it's physically impossible. It's like, I'm Sonic the fucking Hedgehog, who needs physics?
Well, he never needs physics, does he? Like, how does his homing a jump work?
Like, speaking of, how is he jumping like this? He doesn't like put his foot down or anything, does he? It's just like the board lifts up with his feet. It's like whenever you see like skateboarders doing tricks and that, they just kick down on the floor to lift themselves up, don't they?
He's just got it glued on.
Look at this shit!
That's amazing! That's amazing!
Sonic
No, we got to do the epic trailer shot, but with on the board. I love it. This might well be my favourite mission. And look, because I got caught, it just sent me back up the rail.
I don't understand why he went down, because before he was going uphill perfectly fine.
Maybe it just, he wasn't boosting the right way or something, I don't know.
This makes a bit more sense going downhill.
Yeah, like on the rails and shit, like you think boarding on a rail like that, you think like the sort of dude with the attitude sort of thing they go for with Sonic, yeah, that fits in, like that, I can dig that, that can happen. And then we get him boarding up the side of a fucking building.
What is that board made of? Because honestly, at the speed he's going, shouldn't that just combust
It's made of
from the friction.
it's made of blast processing. And now
Just like the moment he boosts, it should just go. Oh fuck!
no, that was actually their little nod to Sonic Riders.
Jet the Hawk just sort of offers by.
Yeah. So you're supposed to be the fastest thing alive? I can't do Jet's voice properly, and that's probably for the best, to be honest. Did you know that was actually Jason Griffith doing Jet the Hawk? And it's just because he's like a much squeakier take on Sonic's voice, isn't it? And to give Griffith his due, like when he does vary up the voices, for the most part, he does sort of vary up the voices, doesn't he? Like if you think Sonic is quite a bit different to Shadow and like that. The exception being Professor Pickle's assistant in Sonic Unleashed, because that is literally Sonic's voice again. And that's where we get the entertaining whole pack of robots line. So I just love that. It was when he was doing like the sort of motions of like describing Eggman, wasn't it? When he was pointing to where the moustache should be, and then like the round belly, and then he goes the whole pack of robots. And that's like one of my favourite lines in Unleashed. But this mission is nothing special. It's just go through Planet Wisp. What I will give it credit for though is it looks quite pretty actually, doesn't it? Seeing this like sort of dusk lighting.
Yeah. I think most of these missions though are just you just play them once and then just forget about them and just play the main levels, don't you?
Honestly, that mission seemed
Just a bit of padding in it, really.
That mission seemed a lot more fitting as a Planet Wisp level.
It did actually. Well, that kind of reminds me of is you know how in colours, like because it breaks it down in 6 acts rather than 2 or 3. How there's like 1 or 2 in each world where it's just like based on a gimmick. It was kind of that, wasn't it? It's like one of them sort of submissions.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't mind that because that is a forgettable level what we just went through, but it's fun enough. Look what we got here.
He shouldn't exist.
He shouldn't exist, but he's managed to show in multiple Sonic games now.
Yeah.
Back.
Like, because we think if he got erased in 06, or at least he would have been from a completely different sort of background, given Sonic 06 technique didn't happen.
Yeah.
How is he in Rivals? Because in Rivals, his story is pretty much the same, that he comes back from the future.
Maybe just because the future's changed, he still ends up being born.
I guess, but he's still a whiny little bitch.
Yes.
How is he so fast in this game? It's
I don't know.
Way faster
It's a
than
fucking
06.
piss take. Why couldn't we have this in 06?
You see what he's doing? He's abusing the system by repeatedly mashing A rather than holding it down. I love doing that, by the way. Like, granted, it's not your instant win button, like say the purple gem is, but it does help you enhance your boost, your like hover that little bit more.
And it's a good boss battle.
This is, yeah, actually. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but the final phase is the best part. But this just sort of having all the different obstacles and that he throws at you, it's actually really fun. And the music is a sort of remixed version of the Silver Boss fight theme from 06, so there's that. This is a much better place. I'm glad it takes place in Crisis City rather than Soliana, because this looks so much cooler.
Oh yeah.
And I know.
Just imagine him picking up civilians and throwing that.
Yeah, no, just like he goes in Soliana, he pulls the bell down from the bell tower, he just throws that at you.
I remember the first time I played 06 and I got the beautiful Soliana cutscene and then it went straight back to this pretty average graphics.
Granted, most games do that, you know, where they've got a split between the in-engine cutscenes and the like CG ones.
There was ridiculous.
Most games, like, although it's still obvious, they do take like effort to like at least make it feel within the same sort of world, like so there's not this jarring clash. 06 doesn't. 06 just has either really well done, like professionally produced CG cutscenes,
10 out of 10 stuff. Then
like stuff that could pass for like a fucking film or something, and then you jump over to like the lighting engine is shit, like the models are shit. Yeah.
Why didn't Silver do this sort of thing against Solaris? Like when he caught all its projectiles, just clump them all together into one giant meteor and then just chuck that at it.
Why didn't he do this against Shadow rather than taking a boot around the skull?
Why didn't he move fast?
I don't know. The Sonic series is a bizarre one and it leaves us with many, many questions.
Why is he fighting Sonic in this? It's like Sonic's not an Iblis trigger in this, so what the fuck?
He was in his way. No, but they really don't explain the bosses that well at all. Like, I guess with the Shadow boss, they had that cutscene of them like clashing like in Adventure 2. Like, yeah, it doesn't really fit in terms of story, but it's like the throwback, and it's just it doesn't work quite as well for Silver because like the Silver fight is not quite as iconic, is it?
I just remember that Silver fight in the first 06 and it's no use.
Just no use. Caught in the corner. Repeatedly being chucked against a wall.
Oh yeah,
I've seen that section broken in so many ways now because
where you keep catching the ring every time, so you're constantly, endlessly being thrown against the wall.
That's the most frustrating of them. There's also one where you can get outside, you get pushed outside of the boss arena, and there's invisible walls, and then one of two things can happen: either he can glitch himself out and he'll start walking around the hub world with you. Or the most fun one, where you try to jump back in, he catches you, he flings you up, you get sent into fucking space.
I saw that one.
Yeah, I saw Brains Crack show that one off in there on. And like, it's just, it keeps on going way up high, and it's just, like, it doesn't stop because, like, the way that attack is programmed is it won't stop you until you hit something. And
but there's nothing beyond the wall.
No, there is an invisible wall miles up. You have to put your controller down and just sort of forget about it for quite a long time, and then you'll hit the wall and fall down. It's a broken boss in so many ways.
But here's a good game.
Yeah, we're doing it again. But this particular boss, I prefer this in Unleashed.
I wouldn't know.
I prefer this in Unleashed.
Oh, Unleashed. I can't remember how it went because it's been ages since I played the Wii version.
Oh, it was a werehog boss where you're on the sort of falling platforms.
Yeah, I know that, but it's just trying to remember how the fight went.
Long story short for you is that he'd start firing things out at you like lasers and that hit you, then you've got to run around dodging him, then he'll come up, and instead of just fucking the shit out of his cockpit like he's doing now, what he did was he'd like just clamp down and then you just punch the shit out of him.
Oh, fair enough.
And I know that punch the shit out of him is pretty much every boss in Unleashed, but still. But yeah, it's... The little touch I do appreciate here though is that this is set in Eggman Land. You can see this is the Eggman Land, like the basement on it. And Eggman Land, I like the day level in Unleashed. I don't like Eggman Land in the HD version. Because that's just drawn out and shit.
Yeah, that is ridiculously long.
Yeah, my fastest run of that is 35 minutes. And fuck that noise. Like, not even fucking Lost Impact is 35 minutes unless you're like really sucking.
It's too long, isn't it? God.
Granted, I don't actually mind that as a concept of like the epic final level. It's just that it wasn't very interested. And there are different segments of it that are like the Sonic ones are the most frustrating of daytime Sonic segments because it's things you got to jump between, tight jumps to make, things that you want to boost as Mon Sonic but you're not allowed to because there's shit in your way. But then you have frustrating sections with the werehog, like. Have you seen the pipe room?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Think very, very tight jumps that you have to make very careful along these pipes that the pipe graphic is rounded, but the sort of what's programmed as a solid object on the pipe, it's rectangular, so you sort of awkwardly guesstimating the whole time. There's no proper drop shadow, so it's hard to tell if you're going to land on the pipe or not.
Yeah.
And I've fucked up so many times in there just trying to get through it.
Yeah.
And again, that section was in Unleashed, but it's so much more manageable in Unleashed.
God, that mech looks awesome.
It does.
It does. It's surprising me like there weren't any sort of figures or something like figurines of that of like different Eggman mechs, because some would be like really cool. I'm thinking this, and maybe obviously it needs a stand, but the Egg Viper would be a cool figure, and it like because it's got the sort of Beyblade things that stick out. That'd be fucking cool.
Blade things.
They are essentially, aren't they?
It's like if you're gonna beat a boss, beat that.
Yeah. But yeah, on the whole, the Egg Dragoon, it's a less interesting take on a Werehog boss. I kind of could do without it. Like, it's serviceable, but I wouldn't be opposed to just passing on it. It's really not the most exciting or memorable boss. It drags on a little bit, but you know, it is what it is, and I have no strong opinion either way. But anyway, back to our beautiful time clusterfuck story.
Yeah, still better than 06.
I keep saying that.
Yeah, it's the fact that this didn't even bother with the whole time paradoxes thing, and yet it's got less than 06.
Yeah, to be fair, more of the things that I could dwell on about the time travel in this game are things that I have to look into.
See, he was kidnapped. This is getting stranger all the time.
Though, ladies and gentlemen, those were the modern era challenges and bosses. If you join us next time, we'll be going into the finale of Sonic Generations, where we'll be fighting the final boss. See you then.